back in Karen's store, Green Conscience, and we're about to install a 2-panel irrigation system, active green wall, on the side of our showroom. And I'm here with Ed King, who's going to help throw this up. And this gets attached with self-tapping screws into the studs. The panels themselves aren't really that heavy. This whole thing probably weighs about 80 pounds. Completely planted, it's going to be probably just over 10 pounds per square foot. So not all that heavy. The beauty of the system is you don't have to worry about flooding or timers getting stuck on or a water trough even. This is the only green wall system that doesn't require a catch basin trough to capture water, because water is always isolated and separate from the system in the room. It's never exposed to the air. The plant only takes what it needs.
I think there's a lot of stuff on social media, at least on the sites that I'm looking at, because I'm interested in indoor air quality, green building, about having indoor house plants to clean your air. Right. And I think I think you're going to get some benefit by having a passive system, but it's not going to be nearly the same as having an active system.
It's a 1 to 200 ratio. So this would be equivalent to having, if this was a passive wall, you'd need 200 of these passively to equal what this is actively.
And that's a
significant.
Huge difference.
That's very significant. That's a very big difference, and it makes it much more efficient for that.
So that was a lot easier than I thought it would be.
But did you think
I don't know. I thought it would be a lot more complicated because it
Really?
just seemed like this big heavy thing that was going to go on the wall.
It's really not all that heavy.
Yeah. No, I know. But it seems more. It just seemed like it would be a lot more. That was easy and quick.
Yeah, and we just have to blast the plumbing through, attach the feed and the return into the utility room, and come back and just put the drain. We'll put the air feed over here.
Right.
And that'll be it. We'll
Cool.
plant it up. It only holds it'll hold just under 2 gallons of water when it's fully charged. Right. And then the plants take it out over a course of time, and then the pump or the solenoid will turn on, and then it will recharge the wall. A little water stays in the bottom of each channel. So a normal household plant that you have to water on a regular basis, weekly, bi-weekly, etc. First of all, you have to know when and how to water, and many people water too much or too little. And the beauty of this green wall system is that it's all automated, and it is based on physics. So you do not have to think about how much to water, when to water. All you need to do is know that there's either water in the reservoir or that the timer is coming on and the system is fully automated. The plant only takes what it needs. We don't have mold or algae issues because there's always a fairly substantial amount of air working through the container all the time. About 7 liters of air per minute flows through this container. So if you need to picture that mentally, it's a couple of soda bottles every few minutes of air coming off of this every minute through the day. So there's never an issue with algae or mold or any of those things that you can get with a normal planting, a normal container plant.
Just talking about how this system really maximizes the environment for the microbes that we've talked about, how important the microbes are at cleaning the air, and how this system is unique in that it creates an environment for the microbes to thrive in so that they can do the most filtering. Yeah. So we have these little pegs, and this is one of the plant containers that it just kind of sits on the wall like that, except for this tube. I'm going to take it out. It's in this gasket here. Ooh, it's a little wet, so it has some water on it. This tube this wick sits in the water. This plastic part goes into the plant. And Mark was showing earlier that there's, you have to kind of zoom in real close, but there's a little air valve right there next to the wick where you need to push that air through the soil so that it can be cleaned by the microbes in the soil. And the microbes also need the air to thrive because they're aerobic meaning air. They need air. So now this is gonna kind of go ahead and do this maybe a little backwards, but I'm gonna take that back out, get this in. So this is going to hook in here, push that through. We're gonna fasten that on there. And so now we've just attached our plant, and it's one plant per pot. Each plant has its own plug here. When you first plant your wall, you're going to have 4-inch plants, which are going to be maybe a little undersized at first. So you're going to see maybe a little bit more of the wall in the beginning. But once the plants fill in, they're going to completely hide this structure behind that they're attached to. So all you will see is the foliage and leaves of the plant. Mark, my system here, the 2-panel system here, which is how many square feet in someone's house, like would you say, with this filter?
Probably about a 2,000 square foot home
Okay.
can be filtered with this size system.
And would you recommend putting this system as one unit, or if it's a 2-story home, could they divide it into two separate panels?
This is 2 separate sections, so it can absolutely be split into two sections. It can also be split through the middle, so we could put a half section down into the lower sections of the home, or in upstairs. So we can divide the panels in a number of different ways. It's also important to note that they do a great job of adding and balancing humidity for the homeowner, and it's really something that works with you as opposed to some humidification equipment that doesn't balance itself. Plants and people balance each other from a humidity standpoint really quite well. So in the wintertime, this is going to more air or more water or moisture is going to evaporate off of the system and add to your indoor humidity to your home. And in the summertime, that process is going to slow, so it's not going to add humidity in the summer as it will in the winter.
So it acts as a humidity buffer in your space.
Absolutely. And you don't have to worry about the white dust you get from ultrasonic humidifiers. You don't have to worry about the bad bacteria building up in the wheel type humidifiers or in the systems that attach to your HVAC system. It's a very safe way to naturally humidify your home.
I'm lucky enough to have a water source on the other side of this wall. So we're actually going to be plumbing this so that it will be tied into a water line, which will be on a timer, which we are going to, because a lot of people are like, how are you going to water the plants? And the plants will be on a timer where the water runs through a pipe that will come through the wall, run through the top of the system, back and forth through the channels and out a drain, and it'll also empty into a drain. And people are probably thinking, well, the wall that I would want to put it on doesn't have a water line, or I don't want to go into my wall and plumb it. So there's another option for mounting a system on an existing wall and having a small reservoir, probably 2 to 3 gallons tops, right?
For this size, you'd probably need 8 to 10 gallons of
8 to 10 gallon reservoir?
Just so you're not filling it all the time. You want to probably fill it around once a week.
Okay. So a half panel would be like 4 to 5 gallons, and that would be hooked up to a pump that would pump the water out of the reservoir. So if you don't have it plumbed to a water line, it is a little bit more work in the sense that you have to fill that reservoir, keep that reservoir filled up with water. But you won't have to worry about how much the plants will be watering themselves because they will take up what they need.
Some about indoor air quality in commercial buildings versus a regular residential home. In a commercial building, air standards are regulated by an organization called ASHRAE, where per person, per occupant in that building, a certain amount of air has to be brought in to that building, fresh air every minute of the day, based on the occupancy. In a home, we don't have those kind of standards. So indoor air quality in a residential home tends to be much worse because our homes are getting much tighter and more energy efficient, and we don't want to waste that heat and that air conditioning. So we have higher CO2 numbers, we have higher indoor pollution rates than we do in a commercial building. And plants can be tremendously beneficial under those circumstances, especially an active green wall system where we're utilizing 150% of that plant's potential by using the organisms that live with that plant in the rhizosphere of the plant, the root system, to filter and clean that indoor air in your residential home.